A Chinese Coast Guard ship blocked a Philippine patrol vessel in the South China Sea, causing a near collision in waters where Beijing's vast claims have alarmed the U.S. and its allies. U.S. warns that any attack on Philippine vessels or aircraft in the Pacific would trigger a defense response from Washington. China has accused the Philippines of staging a near collision between two Coast Guard vessels in the South China Sea for publicity. Hello and welcome back to the channel. For those of you who are new here, we are N.D.P News, a channel dedicated to exploring the fascinating world of geopolitics and current international affairs with daily coverage. Our goal is to keep you informed and up to date with all the latest news, insights, and analysis from around the world. Thank you for tuning in. China Coast Guard ship blocks Philippine Coast Guard boat in the South China Sea. The incident that took place near 2nd Thomas Shoal in the Spratly Archipelago was highly intense and occurred just one day after Philippines President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. had met with Chinese Foreign Minister Qin Gang in Manila, where he expressed his desire for open communication channels regarding the South China Sea dispute. This particular encounter involved two Philippine Coast Guard ships that embarked on a journey of 1,670 kilometers, 1,038 miles, over a span of 6 days. News cameras were present throughout the journey and captured how the Chinese ships would shadow or tail the Filipinos in specific locations, sending them radio warnings to leave or face consequences. To witness China's actions for themselves, the Philippine Coast Guard had invited journalists to join their routine patrol in the highly contested waters for the first time. At the time of the standoff, the U.S. and the Philippines were in the final days of their largest ever war games. This came just after the U.S. had gained access to key Philippine military bases, many of which faced Taiwan. On the dawn of the 23rd of April, the Filipino crew noticed how the Chinese ship that had been shadowing their vessel, Malapascua, increased speed, as indicated by the thick black smoke emanating from its exhaust. The high seas chase was witnessed by the journalist on board a second Philippine ship, the Malabrigo, which was roughly 1 kilometer away from the Malapascua. Eventually, the Chinese ship caught up with the Philippine boat, and it was evident that the smaller vessel could not outmaneuver a vessel that was more than twice its size. The Chinese ship blocked the way and refused to budge, forcing the Malapascua to turn off its engine to avoid a collision. Due to the sudden and really dangerous maneuver, the Chinese ship came as close as 45 meters, 146 feet to the Malapascua's bow, as reported by the Philippine ship commander, Rodel Hernandez. This was the closest near collision for his vessel, which had already been involved in a laser incident with the Chinese in February. After a 30-minute standoff, the Philippine ships turned away and were unable to patrol the 2nd Thomas Shoal, which is one of the few disputed outcrops and islands that Manila occupies, by parking a rundown Navy ship, the Sierra Madre, on it with a handful of Marines. U.S. warns that any attack on Philippine vessels or aircraft in the Pacific would trigger a defense response from Washington. The incident has brought to the forefront a long-standing maritime dispute between China and the Philippines in the South China Sea. The United States has responded to the incident by accusing China of harassing and intimidating Philippine vessels and calling on Beijing to put an end to its provocative actions. In a statement issued by U.S. State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller, the U.S. called for China to refrain from its unsafe and provocative conduct in the region. This statement was made just 2 days before President Joe Biden was scheduled to host his Philippine counterpart, Ferdinand Marcos Jr. in Washington, D.C. The U.S. has also issued a warning that any attack on Philippine security forces or public vessels would trigger a U.S. response. Miller reiterated the U.S.'s commitment to upholding the rules-based international maritime order and its mutual defense commitments with the Philippines in the Pacific, including the South China Sea. A senior U.S. administration official has emphasized the strategic importance of the Philippines, both in terms of security and other factors. He stated that the U.S. seeks to provide both moral and practical support to the Philippines as it navigates the complex Western Pacific region. He added that the Philippines' geographic position is critical and that it could potentially be a location for rockets, missiles, and artillery systems to counter a Chinese amphibious invasion of Taiwan, which China claims as its own territory. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin has also discussed the possibility of stationing U.S. U.S. assets and bases in the Philippines to counter Chinese aggression. However, this is a delicate issue for Manila, given its concerns about China, which is its main trading partner, and past domestic opposition to U.S. military presence. Despite these challenges, the U.S. and the Philippines have agreed to complete a roadmap in the coming months for the delivery of U.S. defense assistance to Manila over the next 5 to 10 years. Please take a moment to give the video a like as we move on. China's response. The Foreign Ministry of China made a statement regarding the incident, where the Philippine boats intruded into what China considers to be its territory. The Chinese authority went on to describe the action as both premeditated and provocative, thereby indicating a sense of offense towards the Philippines' activities in the region. The Philippine government responded to China's statement, pointing out that their activities were merely routine patrols in our own waters, and therefore cannot be regarded as premeditated or provocative. The Philippine government officials also made it clear that they intend to continue with their patrols in the disputed area, which further escalated tensions between the two countries. The President of the Philippines, Marcos, has reiterated that his country's rights in the sea must be protected, and he will not let China undermine them. In recent times, Marcos has made efforts to strengthen his country's defense ties with the United States, which has drawn attention from China. The Chinese government has accused the U.S. of attempting to drive a wedge between Beijing and Manila, thereby expressing their dissatisfaction with the situation. In addition, China has accused the Philippine Coast Guard of staging a near-collision incident in the South China Sea for publicity purposes, which has only added to the tensions between the two nations. During a recent interview, Commodore J. Terriella, the Philippine Coast Guard spokesperson, noted that China has a history of utilizing tactics like shadowing in its operations. However, due to the widespread media coverage of such events, the entire world is now able to bear witness to these actions. The South China Sea has become a highly contentious area due to China's claims over the region, including the Spratlys, which the Philippines also asserts ownership over. Other countries such as Malaysia, Vietnam, Brunei, and Taiwan also have competing claims in the area. As tensions between the United States and China have escalated, the situation in the South China Sea has become one of the most significant global flashpoints. The waters in the South China Sea are of great strategic importance, particularly in terms of Taiwan's defense, given China's increased claims over this self-governed island. Additionally, these waterways also serve as a crucial passageway for global trade, with approximately $5 trillion, 4 trillion pounds, of commerce passing through each year. As such, the growing presence of China in the area have raised concerns that Beijing's actions could have adverse effects on international commerce. Despite an international arbitration court's ruling that China's claims to almost the entire South China Sea are unfounded, the country has ignored this verdict. Instead, China has constructed artificial islands over reefs, ramped up patrols, and more recently used lasers to impede the view of Philippine ships. Such actions further demonstrate China's unwillingness to abide by international law, potentially fueling tensions and leading to further escalation in the region. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to check out our other videos on the channel for more great content. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future uploads. This has been N.D.P News, signing off.